significance of Schwellenbach's ailment is?
Yeah, it's a tough draw right out of the gate. But, you know, I worry about the kid, you know. It's tough blow for Spencer. But it'll create opportunity for other guys. You know, that these types of things always do. And somebody steps up. I always say, before a season even starts, your pitching depth is going to get tested. It's inevitable, you know. So you'd rather not, you know, have it be in, you know, right away in February. But we got a lot of capable guys in there, and they're going to get a look, and you know that's exciting. But yeah, I feel for Spencer more than anything else. You know, the kid has done some amazing things in a short time, and still a bright future ahead of him. But this is I'm sure it's tough for him. Yeah.
Does it look like it could be a UCL surgery?
No, I don't think so. I think it's more like bone spur type stuff. There's some elbow inflammation, and so you know, we'll go from there. You know how these things work. You know, we got to, you know, check all the boxes and all that type of thing. But you know, it's going to be significant time he's going to miss.
Nacho at catcher.
Yeah.
A little bit.
You know, we're introducing it to him. You know, he's not a catcher now. I mean, he's an infielder and a really good one. And this is just, you know, adding another tool to the toolbox. You know, there's never anything wrong with creating some versatility, especially with a guy that, you know, was hit and has shown that he could play the infield and at the major league level. You know, it's a nice piece to have for us and for Nacho, for his career, really. I mean, and like I said, we look at him as an infielder first, but we're just introducing it to him, and he's handling it well so far.
Was he open and receptive?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you got to be open to it, especially at that position. It's not going to be fun. So he was definitely open to it. Yeah, just adding versatility to his game.
What gave you the idea? Like, who came to that idea?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't take credit for this one, but I'm sure the guys in player development. You know, so but it makes sense, especially with a guy whose bat plays. You know, he hadn't shown the power yet at the major league level, but shown the ability, you know, to hit, especially at the minor league level. So there's a hit tool there, and if you can create versatility for a guy that can handle a bat, it could be valuable.
Well, what about Jonah Hine, bringing a guy in here with that resume?
Yeah, I'm excited about that, man. I mean, you get a guy with a winning pedigree, switch hitter, and you know we're neutralizing some platoon situations here with all our switch hitters. We could play the matchup game really well. And Jonah adds to that, but I love getting the guy. I mean, he was the Rangers guy, you know, when they won a World Series. That means a lot, you know, that winning pedigree. So I think it's a great get for us.
We didn't see Robert Suarez out there. Is everything?
Yeah, he'll be fine. You know, the visa stuff. I mean, he'll be here soon. Yeah, no alarm there. Yeah.
How different did today feel for you?
It was different, a little different, yeah. Yeah, I've been here 8 years, and today's the first day I sat in that chair in that office, so that's different, you know, and it's great. Snit's walking around, you know, be a great sounding board for me moving forward, but certainly different, but I've done this before, so it won't take long, especially with this group. I know the group well, you know, so that helps. But I'm excited. You know, I'm excited about the job, about our team, our group, the staff, top to bottom. We got good people and good players, so that makes it exciting.
At what point this offseason did you start to think about spring training, the lineup? Like, when did you start to really, yeah?
The day Alex told me I got the job. I got mad. I didn't sleep. I literally didn't sleep that night. I was going through lineups, my first day speech. I mean, all that stuff. Way back then in November. But yeah, like I said, I mean, I've been down this road before. Obviously, different circumstances, but I'm looking forward to the challenge, and it is a challenge. But like I said, I like the fact we'll be going to battle with the group that we have.
Well,
We saw you.
Was there anything with Schwellenbach's injury now? Does that have anything to do with last year's injury?
Not that I know of, because he was doing great. He was throwing bullpens, and everything was great. The last bullpen he threw was a week and a half ago or so, and it wasn't great. And that's when the red flags went off. So we're hoping for the best, man. And he's a legitimate top of the rotation type guy. And it hurts to lose a guy like that. But we've got some talented arms in camp and some capable guys that are going to get opportunities, And look, that's the way, you hope it doesn't happen all year, but your pitching depth, like I said, is it's almost inevitable. It's going to get tested at some point.
We saw you riding around on the cart with Snit. Just how would you describe the relationship between the two of you guys, and how helpful is it to have him out here?
Yeah. I love Snit. I wouldn't be here without him. He's the one that brought me back to the Braves, him and Bobby Cox. And that was a great day for me, in I guess it was 2018, 2017 when I got the job as a bench coach here to put this uniform back on. But yeah, having Snit right around, that's pretty cool. I told him, he's got the gold card, man. He can come and go as he pleases, and that's got to feel good for him. He's been doing this for 50 years in some capacity, and I'm sure being able to ride around the complex in a golf cart with no responsibility feels pretty darn good.
How do you kind of adjust your, I guess not your leadership style, but how you kind of talk to guys? How much you talk to guys now that you're the man in charge, or how much do you kind of leave it to guys, to your coaches, kind of?
No, I mean, I try to communicate with everybody, and I try to connect with guys on a personal level. I think that's important. I understand there's a line there between manager and player, but I do think that you earn their trust by connecting with them on a personal level. I think it's important, and I think that's when you get the most out of guys. So, but you got to tell guys the truth. You win guys over with honesty. That's how you win them over. So, and a lot of those conversations, especially in the seat I'm in now, they're tough conversations. But these guys know the nature of the business. It's a tough business, tough racket. But if you're honest with guys, you shoot them straight, they respect that.
What are your expectations with Sean Murphy? He said he was just getting into some baseball activity. We saw him jogging out there today.
Yeah, Murph's he's coming along. I mean, there's no setbacks or anything like that. It just takes time with the injury that he has, and he's clearing all the hurdles along the way. And I'm not sure exactly when he'll be back. I mean, it's great that we can go out and get a guy like Jonah Hine while Murph is out, and so everything's fine with Murph. It's just a lengthy process with the injury that he had.
Did you catch Ronald during the Super Bowl?
I heard. I didn't see it. I gotta be honest, but yeah, I heard. That's yeah. Hey, he's big time, man. Yeah, that's where he belongs, on the big stage.
Obviously, you can never have too much depth, but I mean, how do you think it will look going forward with Jonah there, of course, Drake? And
yeah, that's one of those things. We'll deal with it when the time comes. But a lot of times these things kind of work themselves out. For whatever the circumstances are, they tend to work themselves out. But I'm really excited to be able to bring a guy of that caliber, into our camp and onto our team.
Well, you guys have had success the last couple of years, bringing up those prospects midsummer, Hurston, Spencer, and years past. The situation with Spencer, when you look at a guy like Garrett or JR, what do you need to see out of them in the spring training to give you some confidence before they get into the season that they can come up?
Yeah. Look, I tell our young guys, they'll make an impression when they can go out in a game and be in control of their surroundings, and what does that mean? It just means that, they can go out there in the middle of a tough inning, they can defend themselves, they can slow the game down, they can control the running game. They're in control of their surroundings. That goes a long way. The body language, all those things. I mean, of course, you get people out. That's gonna get some attention too. You get outs, but yeah, though, a young guy he'll open up your eyes when it looks like, this guy, he's got a slow heartbeat out there, and that always makes an impression. And I've heard a lot of good things about the guys you mentioned, and I told guys this morning, the pitchers this morning, we used 19 starters and 44 pitchers last year. So if you're sitting in this room, you're in play. I know they do the math. They're good at math when it comes to roster spots. So we're only taking 13 with us, but at some point you're gonna have to help us. So you got to keep your mind right and be ready to do that when the time comes. So yeah, they're all in play.
You've been down here before. Obviously, this is a new role for you. Was there any, I don't know, little superstition or something you wanted to do different, now that you're in this spot to kind of give you some good luck or something that you wanted to
Not
change
necessarily.
up?
I mean, I went back to my own. If we would have had a great year last year, I'd still be number 4. But I've always been 22. So if there's any superstition, that's probably what it is. But yeah, once we had the bad year last year, he gave me the freedom to go back to 22. Yeah, that's probably the only superstition I got.
What's the backstory with 22?
Well, you're going to age me here, but yeah, it's when I was a kid. I was a big Miami Dolphin fan, and played football and stuff. And you guys don't even know who this is, but Mercury Morris was my guy. He's number 22 for the Dolphins on those great teams and the undefeated team. And so from the time I was about 6 years old, I wore 22. My whole life, and so I'm bringing it back.
What was like the biggest difference? Obviously, you're sitting in the manager's office, but what's like the biggest difference of your routine now, like coming to the ballpark? What changes?
No, it's very different. I tell people I was really busy before as a bench coach in spring training because I coordinated the camp. So there's a lot of moving parts. 65 players, 25 staff members, having them all in the right place at the right time. That's a heavy workload every day. I just tell people I'm going to be a different kind of busy now. I'm still going to be very busy. It's just going to be very different, like doing this stuff. So it is different, but again, it's not my first time, and I feel like I'm a little bit better prepared this time than I was last time.
Well, before camp started, people were talking about are the Braves going to add a starting pitcher?
Yeah.
And now, obviously, the fans are going to say more about that. What are your thoughts about? I mean, I know you talked about you already have some depth, but how confident are you that Alex is going to do everything he can to?
Yeah. Well, I know Alex has already been doing that. I don't think he ever stops. So there's no doubt in my mind, Alex is on the phone doing whatever he can, and whether anything comes of it, I don't know. But I know Alex is relentless in his pursuit of improving the roster. So I don't think that'll ever change.
How about now you're seeing John Gill? I don't know if you saw his size last year, but probably people have told you how much he's physically matured. How much did you get to see him today?
A little bit. I went over to the stadium and watched the guys hit a little bit. I heard a lot about him. He's a kid in our system, and I always, my ears always perk up when people talk about shortstops. So he's been on my radar, but it'd be good to have him in camp. It's always exciting to see the young kids in camp and see how they handle themselves. And and I told our young pitchers in the clubhouse this morning before we went out, we have a lot of great examples in this room to follow, and you need to pay attention. So he's one of the guys that he can look around and look at some of the guys that have been doing it for a while and learn how to be a big leaguer.
Camp is long. So
Yeah.
how long?
Is it?
Yeah. What do you really do? Like, what is the first day for you? Like, you're just bouncing around trying to get, like, how much evaluation are you really doing? You're just bouncing around?
No, To be honest with you, it is long, but the pitchers need every minute of the 6.5 weeks because they got to get built up. It takes time to do that. If they get a sore arm and they get delayed a little bit, they get a little bit of a setback. They get pushed back a week. All of a sudden, you start running out of time. So for the pitchers, they need every minute. For the position players, they're probably ready to go with 2 weeks left to go in camp. But at this stage of the camp, it's a lot of meet and greet. And watching bullpens, and of course these guys come in here, they got a bunch of bullpens under their belt already. It's all about keeping your fingers crossed and hoping the guys stay healthy. You got to find that sweet spot between getting them ready and not grinding down here. They got to be ready when the bell rings, but at the same time, you don't want them grinding here. We got 6 months, 7 months to go when we leave here. So you got to find that sweet spot. And these guys, a lot of them have been around, and they know what that sweet spot is for them. And those are conversations I'll have with guys. What do they think they need to be ready? There are a certain number of at-bats or that type of thing. So those are all conversations. But, at this stage of the game, just a lot of meeting and greeting.
How open is that dialogue too about injuries, given that this is a team that's injury bug has not been prone to the last?
Yeah, every team deals with it. I know we got hit hard on the pitching end of it last year, and I think that's what made it tougher. But every team deals with it to some extent. It's just part of it, and that's why your bench is important. Your depth is key. Your player development is key because those guys are at some point. Like I said, we break camp here. They may not even. Some of them might not even been on the radar. When Schwellenbach got to the big leagues, he wasn't even in camp with us that year. Mm-hmm. So you can't look into the future and say this is what's going to happen. You just don't know, and so there's it always creates opportunity. You hate for it to happen, but sometimes, the silver lining is it leads to some pretty good things.
I know it's not a competition, but Ozzy's the first starting position player we saw so far. So what's it like to have him already here and be the first guy?
Yeah, Ozzy's here early every year, and he's always in great shape. It's for a manager. It's a pleasure having guys not only like Ozzy, but the other guys. They're all like that, but you don't have to worry about them. You never have to look over their shoulder. They're doing their work. They're getting ready. They care. So it makes my job a lot easier.
Well, with Kim and Murphy, I know we're not going to put specific dates, but both hopefully in May.
Yeah, it's tough, Bo, to say. In a perfect, we could talk about perfect world, but how many times do we deal in a perfect world in this game? There can be. I hate to, talk about a timeline because inevitably there's setbacks. You got to back off for a week, so it's so hard to look in the future when it comes to injuries. You got an idea, and we do have an idea, but we don't know for sure.
Walt, you mentioned before how you guys trust Dubon at short. How fortunate are you to have him?
Yeah, great defender. I think our position player depth is as good as I've seen since I've been here, and fortunately it is because it's getting tested too. Not only on the pitching side, but losing Kim, and that's a big deal losing your shortstop. But then you have a guy like Dubon. So as we know, it's a really long year. It's every day, and outside of Matt Olson, I mean, you guys are they're going to get nicked up here and there, and Matt does too. He's a tough guy and he got that streak going, but that's an outlier. It's you're going to have to deal with it. So you better have guys that are prepared to step in and help you win games.
Walt, from where you were last year, what stood out to you most about Drake and the season that he had and the next steps for him in such a young career?
Just a great kid, a great person. First of all, got a he's a servant leader. You got the heart of a servant, which is important as a catcher, because you got to nurture that pitcher-catcher relationship, and you got to be willing to sacrifice some things to get the most out of a pitching staff. Whether it's getting a guy through a tough inning or getting him through a tough outing, you got to be selfless when it comes to those types of things. And that's Drake. I mean, he's a wonderful kid, and he can really hit. I mean, it's a good combination, right? He had an unbelievable year last year, and he's another one. I mean, he's thrown into it. All of a sudden now, here he is. He's expected to catch and perform at the big league level, and he did. But so I always talk to guys about making sure their mind is right. You can get angry. You don't make the club, whatever that looks like. I get it, but you gotta get over it. And you gotta get your mind right, and so you can help us at some point. Because you most of the time you don't see it coming. All of a sudden, you're on a big league bench in a big league lineup, expected to help a team win a game. So you gotta be ready for that. But yeah, no, Drake, he's awesome. I mean, he can't draw up a better first year, And look, we all know the second year is different, And I've had some conversations with him about that, and I think a lot of it has to do with like expectations. All of a sudden there's expectations that changes things for guys, but a lot of the conversation is about with Drake is just be careful to tying those expectations to your performance. Just go out and perform. Forget and it's easier said than done, but. There's a lot of good things in order there with that kid. He's made of the right stuff.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.